Audio stories between stops. How I helped Shakespeare create the English language. I first met Shakespeare around 1610. That's the year 1610, not the hour 1610. So don't be confused. It was in the pub opposite the Globe Theatre in London. He was in a corner just staring into space, which was a bit difficult as there wasn't much space as the pub was packed. I didn't know it was Shakespeare. He wore a black biretta, a dark green doublet under a brown jerkin, with a whiter than white ruff around his neck. But he stood out from the crowd because the rest of us could only afford Tudor-style rags, and boy, did we stink. That was probably why Shakespeare had a clothes peg on his nose. The seat next to him was empty because in the middle of it sat a rat. So I biffed the rat off and sat next to him. To break the ice, I said, "It's iniquitous, the cost of a pint now, isn't it?" Shakespeare looked at me with eyes full of astonishment and wonder. "Iniquitous," he said. "Where did you get such a wonderful word from?" I must admit the piece of parchment and the quill pen on the table took my eyes off the girl sitting next to him, whose dress top was cut so low you could see the top of her boyfriend's head. "Iniquitous," he said again. "Where did you get that word from?" "Out of a dictionary," I said. "Can't really remember." Now this time his eyes bubbled with question marks. "What," he asked, "is a dictionary?" "It's a book full of words and their meanings," I replied. Shakespeare slapped his hand on his forehead and with the other thumped the table like that because he was flabbergasted. "That's it," he cried. "That's it! Now I've got somewhere to put all my words. In a dictionary. What a brilliant idea. That will keep Anne happy." "Who's Anne?" I asked. "Anne Hathaway. She's the wife. Always complaining I leave words all over the house. I've got lots of words, you know. And I've got sentences. Here's one I created for a play I'm writing. To be or not to be. 6 words. Not bad, huh?" "Yes. To be or not to be," I repeated. "They're from Hamlet." He's just slapped his head again. And again. "Hamlet," he purred. "That is the word I've been looking for. Do you mind if I use that word as the title of the new play I'm writing?" "No," I said, "be my guest." Hamlet. He was staring into space again. "You don't think people would think it's a play about small pigs," he said. I shook my head. "No," I said, "it's part of the English language." The thud as he slid under the table made everyone in the pub turn round. "Language!" Shakespeare yelled from under the table. "That's the word I've been looking for. That's what I'm going to create." "He's a fucking nut," said the girl with the pair of balloons. To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer, Shakespeare was creating. Now he'll never stop, like Mick Jagger. The top-heavy girl leaned forward, smothering her boyfriend. Shakespeare put his hand on my shoulder. "I've got to get a move on," he said. "Listen. Up, up, oop, wa, loop, wa, up." That was a man trying to read behind us. But he couldn't. Shakespeare hadn't created anything for him to read yet. So he was just looking at a blank page, waiting for words. Shakespeare put his hand on my shoulder again. "Have you got any more words for me?" he asked. "Do you want long words or short words?" I offered. "I want all the words you've got," he cried. And so I gave Shakespeare my copy of the Concise English Oxford Dictionary. Because if I hadn't, There would be no language, and I would not have been able to create this podcast. Your podcast is a load of crap, snorted Madam Beauty with the bouncers. Maybe I smiled, but without me and William, she would not have been able to insult me either.